All right, you longtime Bay Area homeowners, it's time for the December 2025 Silicon Valley Real Estate Review made just for you. And even though we call it the December Review, we're really talking about what the market looked like in November because that's the most recent complete data we have. And honestly, that timing is perfect because November tells us how the market is actually behaving before the holidays really slow everything down and people mentally check out. So let's start with sales activity, because despite all the noise, buyers were absolutely still buying in November. 583 single-family homes closed escrow in Santa Clara County. That is up 17% compared to November last year. Pending sales tell the same story. There were 511 homes that went under contract in November, which is a 15% increase year over year, and that is a pretty healthy bump up in my book. And it may, perhaps, be a harbinger of things to come as we head into 2026. Now let's talk supply, because supply continues to be the gravitational force in this market, and any market, frankly. At the end of November, there were 627 single-family homes actively for sale. Now that is about a 1.6% increase from last year. Months of inventory came in at just 1.1, which is up about 23% year over year, but context really matters here. Now a balanced market is considered to be closer to a 4 to 6 month supply, or maybe in the Bay Area, perhaps a 3 to 4 month supply might be considered balanced. So 1.1 months is still very much a strong seller's market. So yeah, inventory technically increased, but it increased from extremely tight to still extremely tight. Now that tight inventory is why prices didn't roll over. The median sale price in November 2025 was $1.91 million. That's essentially flat, up just 0.2% from November a year ago. Now, price per square foot tells a similar story. The median price per square foot was $1,086, which is up 2.3% year over year. This is not a market that's accelerating, but it's also clearly not a market that's weakening. It's just kind of treading water like so many of us seem to be doing these days. Yet homes are also selling quickly. Median days on market in November was 14, which is virtually unchanged from last year. 14 days is not a slow market by any measure, and most markets across the country would give their left arm for a stat like that. It means that if a home is priced correctly and presented well, buyers are still stepping up quickly. One of the quiet but important data points this month is new listings. There were 408 new single-family listings in November 2025 compared to 455 in November last year. That's a decline of just over 10% year over year. Now this is a big reason inventory hasn't meaningfully loosened. A lot of homeowners are talking about selling next year, with fewer actually listed in November, which keeps supply constrained even as demand remains steady. Now, one stat that really captures the tight inventory situation is the sale to list price ratio. November 2025, homes in Santa Clara County sold for about 104.5% of list price, compared to roughly 104.9% in November 2024. Now that is a very slight year-over-year decline, but really not so much as anyone would notice. And if I had to guess, I would wager that this sales to list price ratio is maybe the highest in the country. If not, it's gotta be damn close to it. As usual, that's because the Bay Area is the national leader. Now, let's zoom out and talk about why the market looks like this, because numbers don't exist in a vacuum. Silicon Valley spent most of 2025 living in a strange emotional state. On one hand, there were very real layoffs, especially in large tech companies and in roles impacted by automation and AI. On the other hand, the stock market ended the year strong, AI investment continues to pour into the valley, and companies that were cutting costs in one area we're often spending aggressively in another. That matters for housing because Silicon Valley real estate doesn't move on headlines. It moves on income, equity, and long-term confidence. So even with layoffs, unemployment locally remains relatively low, and the people most likely to buy homes here are often insulated by severance packages, equity compensation, or strong balance sheets. That's why we didn't see any forced selling, and that's also why we haven't seen prices collapse. Mortgage rates are another big part of the story. Rates in late 2025 were lower than they were a year ago, but still solidly in the low 6% range. What changed wasn't just the rate, it was buyer psychology. Instead of waiting for rates to drop before buying, more buyers accepted that today's rate is the entry price and refinancing is a future possibility. That shift alone explains why pending sales and closed sales both increased year over year. When you put all of this together, November 2025 looks like a market that has reached a delicate equilibrium. Demand is strong, if not exactly exuberant or ebullient. Supply is tight, but not really shrinking. Prices are stable, homes sell quickly when they're priced correctly, but they sit when they're even just a smidge too high. That's not a broken market, that is a well-functioning one. Now, looking ahead into early 2026, this data suggests more of the same unless something external changes. The crucial balance of supply versus demand will continue to be the fulcrum, as always, that shapes the market. Pricing strategy will matter more than timing, and Silicon Valley real estate will continue to do what it has always done, be an excellent long-term investment for people who want to call the Bay Area home. Alrighty, that's a wrap for the December 2025 Silicon Valley Real Estate Review. If you're thinking about making a move next year and you're wondering what all this means for you, your neighborhood, and your house, by all means, feel free to reach out to me. My number is here at the bottom of the screen, 408-413-3087. Feel free to go ahead and shoot me a text message or even give me a call. I'd be happy to chat about you and your situation and how you can best position yourself to capitalize on the strong Silicon Valley real estate market. All right, thanks so much for watching, and I wish you a very merry holiday season.